This is a story most people think they know. A daring escape. Tunnels. Courage. Barbed wire. But this is the part you haven't heard. The secret genius, the hidden engineering, the quiet brilliance of men who were never soldiers by choice, but engineers, artists, and thinkers locked inside Nazi Germany's most secure POW camp. This is the untold story behind the Great Escape. It begins in 1942, in a place called Stalag Luft III, a German prison camp built specifically to hold the most skilled Allied airmen. The Germans believed this camp was escape-proof. The sand around the camp was bright yellow. The soil was soft and unstable. The towers were high, the guards alert, the barbed wire layered in triplets. But what they didn't know was that Stalag Luft III had gathered some of the most inventive minds of the entire war. Men who saw limitations as puzzles. Men who saw captivity as a challenge. Men who used their own genius as a weapon. And they were about to prove that even behind barbed wire, brilliance can thrive. Most people know the names of the heroes who crawled through the tunnels. But the real brains, the masterminds who made the tunnels possible, rarely appear in history books. The first was Roger Bushell, the man with the vision. But this story isn't about the leader. It's about the builders. The draftsman, the forger, the ventilation expert, the carpenter, the sand dispersal team, and the lookouts, all working like a machine in the shadows. The man they called Wheats, a former architecture student, was the first to realize the scale needed. The tunnels couldn't be simple holes in the ground. They needed to be deep 30 feet down to avoid microphones. Reinforced like mine shafts. Ventilated like small buildings. And discreet enough to keep the Germans guessing for months. Then came the true miracle workers. The artist named Tim, who had perfect eyes for proportions. He reproduced German passes, stamps, railway documents, and work permits with such precision that even the guards couldn't tell the difference. The carpenter, nicknamed Mac, turned bed slats into support beams. In total, he used more than 4,000 pieces of wood stolen quietly, one by one, from beds, benches, tables, shelves. Then there was Johnny Bull, the ventilation wizard. He invented a system so clever it feels impossible even today. A contraption built from powdered milk cans, old pipes, torn blankets, and tin scraps. A bellows system hand-operated that pumped fresh air hundreds of feet through the tunnel. In a place with no tools. No supplies. No machines. They built engineering marvels. Every night, the camp transformed into a silent factory. Men pretended to sleep. Guards walked their routines. Dogs sniffed the frosty air. And beneath the barracks, the ground vibrated with quiet movement, hands carving through sand, beams hammered into place, crates filled with loose dirt. The tunnels had names. Tom. Dick. Harry. 3 tunnels. 3 chances. 3 miracles of human determination. But progress was slow, and danger constant. Every time a guard stepped on the soft ground, the men froze in fear. Every time a dog sniffed near a vent, breath caught in their throats. Every time a guard asked too many questions, the entire operation paused. Still, they continued. Because escape wasn't just a dream. It was a duty. The first major genius was the dispersal system. Digging a tunnel produces mountains of sand. And Stalag Luft III sat on bright yellow soil. If the Germans saw piles of sand, the entire operation was dead. So 3 men designed a method that remains legendary. They created penguin pouches, cloth bags strapped inside trousers. Each man filled his pouch with sand, walked across the yard, pulled a string, and let the sand sprinkle out as he walked. To guards, they looked like bored prisoners strolling aimlessly. In reality, they were dumping tons of evidence right under their noses. Then came the second stroke of brilliance, the trolley system. As tunnels grew longer, digging took too long and was too dangerous. So the men invented a miniature railway. A cart made from bed planks, string, and pulleys. It allowed dirt, tools, and even men to travel quickly inside the tunnel. The tunnels weren't just holes. They were fully functioning underground escape routes, engineered with the precision of professionals. Every inch had support beams. Every 10 feet had lamp holders powered by stolen electrical wires. Every junction had emergency exits. And all of this happened while German guards patrolled just a few feet above. But then disaster struck. Tom, the tunnel closest to completion, was discovered by the Germans. The guards tore through the barracks like wolves, dragging men outside, smashing beds, pulling up floorboards. When they uncovered the entrance, the escape committee watched helplessly. Months of work. Thousands of hours. Gone. But the Germans made a fatal mistake. They believed the escape plan ended there. They didn't know about Dick and Harry. And the geniuses behind the operation got back to work with renewed fury. Harry became the primary tunnel. But the problems grew. The tunnel was too long. The soil was unstable. Winter froze the ground. Guards became suspicious. Dogs increased patrols. And the men were exhausted. Yet hope kept them going. Every stroke of a shovel was an act of rebellion. Every forged letter a blow against captivity. Every beam placed was a step toward freedom. These weren't just soldiers. They were engineers, artists, craftsmen, thinkers, fighting a battle made of brains, not bullets. Finally, after nearly a year of work, the tunnel was ready. The escape would happen on March 24, 1944. 200 men were prepared. Passports forged. Civilian clothes sewn from blankets, curtains, stolen fabric pieces. But on the night of the escape, another disaster hit. When the first man broke through the final section of soil, he discovered something that froze his blood. The tunnel had come up short. It didn't reach the tree line. It surfaced in open ground, in plain sight of the guard tower. But after everything they had endured, no one was turning back. One by one, prisoners crawled through the tunnel. Some reached freedom. Some didn't. But every single man who entered that tunnel became part of history. 76 men escaped that night. 3 made it home. Many were captured. 50 were executed on Hitler's orders. But their legacy lived on. Because the world saw not just an escape, but a demonstration of sheer human ingenuity. This is where the story usually ends. But the true unsung geniuses never got credit. The draftsmen who mapped every inch. The forgers who created documents perfect enough to fool the Reich. The tailors who made suits from blankets. The engineers who built ventilation systems out of garbage. The sand dispersers who risked being shot every day. And the lookouts who protected the tunnels with signals so subtle the guards never even noticed. They never fired guns. They never commanded armies. They never stood on battlefields. Yet their intelligence, creativity, and courage turned a POW camp into a factory of hope. Behind barbed wire, they challenged an empire. Behind watchtowers, they built miracles. Behind the threat of death, they used nothing but brilliance, and beat the system designed to break them. The Great Escape is remembered as a daring tunnel breakout. But the truth is deeper. It was an engineering masterpiece. A triumph of human will. A reminder that brilliance can rise even in the darkest places. And the men who made it possible, the silent inventors, the hidden craftsmen, the geniuses behind barbed wire, deserve their story told. This was their story. The story of ingenuity in captivity. The story of creativity under tyranny. The story of hope carved into the earth. This is The Great Escape's Unsung Geniuses.